Hello, everyone. So this is actually a great video we showed at the press conference early on a month ago. So I got invited last minute, and thanks for the invitation from the conference. We actually built three-wheelers this time. And actually before, almost like the robot is stealing the show, because we actually meant to build three-wheelers, right? So that's sort of the intent. If I can have the next slides. But first of all, it's a three-wheelers that's built with better rides and with better usability, and also it addressed a lot of the issues. One of the issues you probably noticed that there's a lot of scooter domino effects, right? So some people, push the scooter vandalism, and this is definitely a more stable scooter. So if I push it, you won't have that scooter domino effect. And at the same time, it's actually still the same fun to ride because it steers like two-wheelers. So you have the same experience of riding it, but at the same time, it's more suitable for people who are a little bit older age. Also, it feels actually safer with the three-wheelers features in place. And also, we are building this product on the basis of the current Max model. So all the components and all these things are massively producible. As you know, we actually made millions of these scooters in the past couple of years. So we actually gained quite a bit of knowledge in terms of how do we make this massively producible and also affordable. So the reason we are building this Roboscooter, actually, that was sort of the reason everybody's here, is trying to figure out how we can improve our efficiencies and make everybody profitable in this whole micromobility business sooner. And of course, some of the obvious benefit, you can actually see it from the video and graphically, if the scooter can ever rebalance themselves and also can kind of go back to the charging bay themselves. And also there's some little bit less obvious outcome might be it could actually potentially extend the life of the product, or perhaps even reduce the public concern of scooter sharing. So just to be a little more specific, right? So there are a few pain points we're trying to address. And there's small things from, can we clear the sidewalk if the scooter just happened to park right in the middle of the walkway? And that's actually fairly easy to do, right? You just make them teleoperating, and you move them out of the center of the walkway. To the point that if there's cameras here, there's almost like dashboard camera here, and you can monitor whoever's using it, maybe even vandalizing it, what would people react, right? And what would the city think? But we are hoping this actually can reduce the amount of vandalism. You probably see the sign, sometimes you even have a fake camera. It says, you are watched by a CCTV camera, right? But what if people see this, and would that become a deterrent to vandalism, right? So we think there's a good chance that the Roboscooter can do that. And also, I just talked about return to the docking bay and charging bay. And these are sort of kind of obvious where you can reassemble these scooters at a parking spot where the staff can replace the battery, swappable battery, and you can swap it, right? So instead of go to the charging bay or build the infrastructure for charging, you can still do this a dockless way, but it's just a matter of regrouping all the scooters will help the efficiency. And last but not least, there is actually many, many new possibilities, all right, beyond just the current free-floating shared scooters. That include this whole big if question. I guess the holy grail of this whole Roboscooter concept is that what if you can actually summon the scooter to you, right? So can you imagine ultimately maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 years later down the road, you open up your app, hopefully maybe a Segway app, you can actually call a scooter to you, right? Or maybe you can reserve one. So the possibility is endless, and even the subscription model, new business model be enabled by this technology? So the possibility is really endless. So we talked a little bit about the return on investment, and it's kind of obvious that I think everybody sit here would appreciate that. So I won't dwell on that. So a little bit about technology itself. So essentially what happened is Segway-Ninebot now is actually a robotic company. So we have another division that actually spent a lot of time doing robotics navigations and robotics controls. So we actually leveraged some of the technology and applied them into the new Roboscooters. So it actually leveraged the machine deep learning technology, and you recognize the pavement and also recognize the surroundings, and it helps the robot navigate on its own. Right? So I'm going to do a demo, essentially teleoperating from China, where we actually had a staff there setting up. And also it has ability to avoid obstacles right in the middle. So if there's somebody in the middle, one is it can go around it, and two is if there's an emergency, it will stop itself. So these are the three different kind of image seen by the robot from first-person point of view. So now what, right? This looks cool, but is it really practical? And what are the questions we're trying to answer here? So this is only the beginning. So we just start to scratch the surface about, I call them Roboscooter economics 101, right? So what does it mean? And if you do operate something on the street, and you have staff, you can reduce the cost in terms of charging and rebalancing, but how much, right? How much efficiency we can actually generate? And what is even the break-even point for an autonomous vehicle like this, right? And also, what is the consumer acceptance rate? And what would consumers see this? And how do they see it in terms of security and privacy issues? What about the city? How would they react to all the possibilities we see here? So there's a very unique problem, even just kind of brought about by the AI itself, right? So because this one actually has a 180-degree fisheye camera here, so it's a good thing and it's also a bad thing. So we're entering a completely new territory here, right? So what about privacy protections, right? So we actually came up with some of the engineers came up with this really clever idea that we actually filed for patents for this as well. So when the camera sees the pedestrian, it blurs the image of the person. So it kind of de-identifies the person. And also license plate as well, right? So we kind of trying to think ahead, what could be the possibilities? What about crossing street, right? Right now, this vehicle is not designed to cross street, right, for obvious reasons. But when we're doing the teleoperating, is there a way to enhance the robot to cross the street better and safer? So these are the things our engineers are constantly thinking about, and also think ahead of the whole industry before this whole thing can be implemented. A little bit stats, and you can take a picture of this, and it's also on our web as well. But one thing I do want to point out is that this is actually built on a production-based design, so they can manufacture it in a very large quantity. The cost of the computer on board is no more expensive than actually the lower-end cell phone, right? So you're talking about a few $100 additional cost to the current model, which really doesn't really add that much barrier. So a lot of people actually can't afford this. So think about this as almost like the next generation of mobile phones, right? Essentially, it's a phone on two, actually in this case, 3 wheels. And also it has a swappable battery as well. So you could essentially open up the pad, and then you can swap the battery as a typical operations. So we have thought about all these little small details, especially in terms of operations. So the next step for us is really to work with the whole industry and to figure out the economics 101, right? And also figure out what the reaction of the cities. So this is a sort of a short and sweet presentation for the Roboscooter. And now I'd like to switch over to my live screen. So say hi to Anand. I don't know if you can hear. Anand is my assistant. He's actually based in China right now here on the street. Today is a national holiday because it's October 1st. So he's actually taking his time off. So what I'm going to demonstrate on the left-hand side is my screen that teleoperates and also can perform a bunch of tasks. So basically, I have like 2 scooters on the street right now. This is actually right behind our company compound. And basically, this is the interface. Imagine you're an operator in a control room, right, or the war room. And in this case, I programmed the robot to go by itself for 50 meters. All right, so it's doing its own trick. And there's no control at this point. So it's driving its own, and it recognizes the pavement and look around. Oh, don't do anything. Oh, okay, it worked. So the robot was pre-trained on the pavement, so recognize the pattern, look at the surroundings, and it was told to drive itself. Now, if you run into a problem of it stop at 50 meters, I will go ask the robot to go teleoperating by pointing and click on the screen. So I can actually keep clicking on the screen. Oh, I have to click in the direction of the fan, the way it's pointing. There's a little bit lag in terms of the, yeah. Okay. Okay, so now I can turn off the scooter, essentially if I arrive at the destination. So my colleagues actually here, you can ride the scooters.
Okay.
So this is actually out of the teleoperation mode. And he can actually just go in and be the rider. So as you can see, this is actually, it feels it ride like 2-wheelers. Looks like everybody's on holiday on October 1st, so we got a street up by ourselves. Okay, so he left. So I'm about to switch to the next one. And essentially, that's the second one in my fleet. Okay, so he's doing essentially the same trick. So I guess you know the story here. So by any means, this is actually not a sort of really, mature product by any means, right? So it's only the beginning. So that's why there's a lot of technology, or especially kinks and problems need to be worked out in the whole system. That's why we are welcoming the whole industry to work together with us. So again, I'm Tony Ho, and so this is sort of our presentation. I hope you enjoy it.